Right on that. Thank you.
Okay. I'll call the meeting to order at 2:30. The first order of business is public comment, and we'd ask you to come to the lectern / podium or podium / lectern and state your name and your address, where you're from, if you have any public comment. There is none. Any public comment? Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
I move that it be approved.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. Any discussion? Additions, corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Thank you. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the April 22nd meeting.
Again, I'll move that they be approved.
Any support? Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the staff report. We'll turn that over to you, Brian.
So members, as you look through your meeting packet, at the very beginning, you'll find a short staff report that I've put together. It's just summarizing again the purpose of the Officers Compensation Commission. There's a few things that I do need to point out just as we dive into the meeting packet. So since your April 22nd meeting, there were a variety of information items that were requested by the Compensation Commission. I've worked with Regina, with outside agencies, and with your locally elected officials to try and gather as much of the information as possible. If you need to see more details, just say the word. We will happily track down any information that you need. As you work through today's meeting packet, you will find copies of the annual reports from the various countywide elected officials. Further through the packet, you will find information directly from the Board of Commissioners, statements from the chair, statements from a couple of different members of the board, just describing what they believe goes into their daily activities as commissioners. And then also in the packet, there's information from Michigan State University Extension, just describing the role of elected officials at the county level. I know this is a big packet, but we've tried to address any questions that the members may have. One thing that you won't find in the packet for today, but we'll make sure that we share with you all on a go-forward basis, is I spoke with Chairwoman Price on late Friday afternoon. She had asked if I could get a breakdown of essentially any commission, or I'm sorry, any boards that require full-time engagement from the members of their commissions. And it's not a scientific approach. I reached out to each of the counties listed within your wage study, and we did get some quick responses, but not all of the responses. But simply, I think I have between 6 and 7 counties that have responded saying they do not have set hours required for any of their elected officials. I'll work to summarize that information and get it to you all in the near future. As you look through the rest of the report, I do want to point out that we've worked with Mark Notley, Municipal Consulting, on the wage study that is in your packet. At your April 22nd meeting, I noted that just, I think within an hour prior to your meeting, we found an error in the compensation level for the Board of Commissioners. Just after we wrapped up your meeting, we were able to get on the phone with Mr. Notley. He apologized profusely for the error. In your packet is the updated corrected number. Everything else appears to be correct within that report. However, the Board of Commissioners, Chair and Vice Chair, those numbers have been revised downward. Last item, 2 more, I apologize. Madam Chair, the second to last item is related to, at your April 22nd meeting, I talked about the fact that there could be upward pressure coming from the various chief deputies. That was in reference to a countywide wage study being led by a firm called Baker Tilly. At that time, I told you all that the Board of Commissioners were set to meet on April 30th to review the Baker Tilly study. They did do that. However, no formal action was taken. The item was tabled. The board members still are looking for some more information. Where that leaves all of you is we're in a little bit of an unknown. There is the Baker Tilly study. There are wages that, if approved, will create some upward pressure between the chief deputies and their elected officials. However, no action has been taken, and more than likely, no action would occur until the board's formal meeting in May. And that is essentially about a month from now. So that is something to continue thinking through as you all work on this issue, but the board did not act, and I don't want to in any way imply that the board is going to act on that. So more information to come. The last item I have for you all is just a very polite but firm reminder. 45-day window from the start to finish. You have 45 days to get through this. And the date that we should all just be thinking about is June 6th. Yes, ma'am.
I went through my calendar and that was something I was gonna bring up. Is it June 6th or is it June 4th? And I was counting from the day I even looked at the statute. It said 45 days from the April 22nd date. So that's what I'm interested to hear about June 6th.
So I believe that I've counted this correctly. However, if in the spirit of safety, you prefer to use June 4th as your absolutely drop dead date, then I have absolutely no concern about that.
June 6th falls on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So I'd like just to have a little bit further discussion about that as a group and then have a motion and have it passed, just say, this is our date. And so, because I noticed in earlier references, it was June 4th, your memo said June 6th, and I just want to have it clear. So, okay.
We have a date of the next meeting.
Correct.
I mean, I think we should schedule another one well within the 45 days, whether we need it or not, I don't know, but just to be on the safe side.
From the staff's perspective, we're here to serve. If a fourth meeting, quite frankly, if a fifth meeting is necessary, we will make ourselves available and assist in any way possible.
So right now, under miscellaneous, I have 3 items. Do we, as a assume the wage study of the chief of the staff is going to be adopted by the board? That as it pertains to chief deputies, the drop dead date. And then the scheduling another meeting. So we'll cover those under miscellaneous. Okay.
I do have a question, Brian, if I may. On the minutes, page, well, in our packet, it's page 7, but it's under 6D. Looking at that paragraph that begins with Doug Van Essen.
Yep.
The last sentence says the Coleman memo, the last sentence says to set will work with legal services to draft a memo identifying an option for the group to consider. Is that something we're waiting for still from Doug Van Essen or somebody, or?
So at this point, I would say that statement is in preparing a resolution for the chair of this group to sign.
Oh,
If you all reach a conclusion and are ready to empower her to sign that document, we will need to prepare the resolution coming from the Officers Compensation Commission to the Board of Commissioners.
I think I misunderstood that when we got into that. I thought that had more to do with the Water Resources Director, the treasurer, their situation, what the options were there, my mind, so.
Based on my notes and memory of the meeting, I believe that's what the intent was. However, we're here to serve. And if that's something that we need to revisit, we are more than willing to assist in that conversation. I will point out that as Doug stated at your last meeting, the general advice that he was trying to offer is that this body needs to be focused on the going forward, and that any discussion as it relates to the 2024 compensation commission is something that is very much in the past.
Well, the reason I was interested, I thought there might be a legal impediment to even looking back. To the wages in 25, I think it would be. Didn't know it. I think that'd be good for us to know if there is. In Doug Vanessa's opinion.
Ron, maybe if we get to that point and there's an interest on this board to look back, maybe we ask that question, but we might find that there is no interest from this commission. That is my thoughts.
Any other questions for Brian or one? Seeing none, I think we'll move on to the public hearing, which would be hearing from the sheriff.
No,
Oh, yes, we do. We need to have a motion to go into public hearing, for a public hearing. That's right.
may I move that?
Yeah.
And so moved.
And do we have a second?
Sure, second.
Do we have a time limit for our?
Madam Chair, Mayor Stone, I've spoken with each of the electeds here. We've tried to encourage them to shoot for not greater than 10 minutes. However, each has been briefed that should the members of this commission have questions, that time could extend.
And do each of the electeds know that they're not required to fill that whole 10 minutes?
Even pray that they don't. Any other discussion on that, on the motion to go into public hearing? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Sheriff.
Good afternoon. I want to begin by saying I'm grateful for the support this county has shown the sheriff's office and for the seriousness with which you approach your work. My goal today is to give you a clear picture of what the Ottawa County Sheriff's role looks like in 2026, so you can place the position's compensation in the right context moving forward. Ottawa County today, based on official census numbers, has about 296,000 residents. Outside of Holland City, Grand Haven City, Zeeland City, and Grand Valley State University campus, roughly 250,000 those residents rely on the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office as their primary police department. In practical terms, we are the day-to-day police agency for almost the entire county. In Kent County, by contrast, there are a large number of cities with their own police departments, including Grand Rapids, Wyoming, Kentwood, Walker, Granville, and others. When you add those communities together, you get an order of about 400,000 residents who are primarily served by city police departments, leaving roughly 240,000 residents where Kent County Sheriff is the main police department. In Kalamazoo County, where when you account for Kalamazoo City, Portage, and Kalamazoo Township, all having their own public safety departments, you're left with somewhere in the range of 115 to 120,000 residents who are primarily policed by the sheriff. So roughly speaking, Ottawa County Sheriff's Office is the primary police department for about 250,000 residents, and that's comparable to, and in fact, slightly more than the population directly policed by the Kent County Sheriffs, and is roughly twice the number of residents directly policed by Kalamazoo County Sheriff. On top of that, Ottawa County is one of the fastest growing counties in Michigan. Our local unit population reports show steady growth since 2020, and recent analysis notes that Ottawa County's growth is outpacing much of the state. Now, growth is a blessing, but it also creates complexity, more traffic, more calls for service, more development, and more demand for proactive policing and community engagement. Planning for that growth through redistricting, staffing adjustments, technology upgrades, and capital planning is now a central part of the sheriff's role. I also recognize that the Board of Commissioners is in the middle of its own strategic planning process. And even though that plan is still in draft form, commissioners have been clear that one of the central themes in preparing for continued growth in Ottawa County and being proactive rather than reactive. While that strategic plan is ultimately that board's document, I would respectfully suggest that this compensation commission consider those same themes as you look at the sheriff's role. The sheriff's office is one of the primary tools for delivering on that growth-oriented vision, and making sure the position is compensated in a way that supports stable long-term leadership is a part of that preparation. The way we deliver services today reflects this scale and complexity. The sheriff's office currently maintains 27 contracting relationships with cities, villages, townships, and schools, either to supplement their services or to fully provide police services on their behalf. Each of those contracts brings expectations, accountability, and partnerships with the elected officials in that community. In addition, we operate a full-service jail, marine and dive operations, animal control, and a growing portfolio of specialized units and community programs. At the same time, we're preparing for accreditation, modernizing our technology and record system, and building data capabilities to guide staffing and deployment. Another piece that may not show up directly in a wage table is the regional leadership the sheriff's office provides among law enforcement agencies in Ottawa County. Over the past few years, I've been working with the chiefs and heads of other agencies in the county on several shared initiatives. A shared contract with LexisNexis, the early stages of a countywide real-time crime center, and the coordinated move to a new records management system that requires all of us to move together. In each of these efforts, we are using the size and purchasing power of the sheriff's office to secure agreements and pricing that smaller agencies could not obtain on their own, so that the entire law enforcement community in Ottawa County benefits, as I am the sheriff of the entire county, even if you have your own police department. That kind of convening and coordination role is now a significant part of the sheriff's job. You also have in front of you a wage and benefits survey and addendum that looks at Ottawa County alongside several comparable counties provided by staff. Those documents show that the Ottawa County Sheriff's position is currently paid meaningfully below Canton and Kalamazoo. I'm not here to suggest those counties are paying too much, quite the opposite. Their compensation reflects the seriousness and complexity of a modern sheriff's role in a growing community. My request is that when you consider the size of the population we directly police, the 27 contracting bodies we serve, the county's growth trajectory, and the board's strategic emphasis on preparing for continued growth, the regional leadership and coordination the sheriff's office is providing, and the external market for comparable executive law enforcement roles, that you view Ottawa Sheriff's position in that same tier. In simple terms, I'm asking that you move the sheriff's salary meaningfully closer to Kent and Kalamazoo, rather than anchoring it to the lower paid comparables that serve smaller and less complex systems. I also want to understand that this compensation is set for the position and not to the person holding it, I'm sorry. I'm proud of what our office has accomplished in my first year, but my request is really about making sure the compensation for this position reflects the complexity it carries today and the complexity it will carry in the future. This job requires strategic judgment, long-range planning, operational credibility, and the ability to work across multiple governments and agencies. Ottawa County should want qualified leaders inside this organization to view this role as something worth aspiring to, not a position where the demands keep growing while the compensation falls behind opportunities outside of this role, outside of the county, or outside of public safety leadership. That happens, the long-term risk is not just turnover, but it's the narrowing of pool of people willing and able to step into one of the county's most complex executive roles. There's one additional point I would respectfully ask you all to consider, and that is that of longevity pay. My understanding is that longevity pay had been provided to my predecessor and to other elected positions before last year, but it was removed. And when I was asked about it, I was told that this body was the only body that could remedy that. I have served Ottawa County for 24 years, and I would respectfully ask the commission to consider applying the same longevity framework that exists for all other county employees to this position and other electeds. Well, I believe that would be fair and consistent with my years of service and consistent with how the county recognizes long-term commitments in other parts of this organization. I'm intentionally not asking you to adopt a specific dollar figure. I trust this commission to exercise its judgment within the range you believe is fair. But I do want to be clear that at present, there is a significant percentage gap between Ottawa, Kent, and Kalamazoo counties. Even though the number of people we police and the complexity of our operations is comparable and in some respects greater. I'm grateful for the trust that you placed in me and the men and women of the sheriff's office, and I recognize that you have many competing priorities and limited dollars. My commitment, regardless if you choose to move my compensation into closer alignment with Kent and Kalamazoo, is to continue planning ahead for Ottawa County's growth, strengthening our partnerships with local units of government, and ensuring that our residents have received the level of professional policing that they expect and deserve from the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. I'll take any questions that you have.
Longevity pay, did that not include, when you went into the sheriff role, did that not follow you through?
So my understanding, ma'am, is that it is in the manual that electeds do not receive it. However, when I spoke to the previous sheriff and the previous prosecutor, they had both received it. Tried to remedy it through the administrator's office. We went back and forth for a while, and ultimately it came down to the fact that you guys set the benefits, and so I just asked that you consider that as well. Fortunately, it wasn't told to me that I wasn't even getting it, and some things happened where all of a sudden you didn't get a bonus you were ready for, and it felt like the last couple hours of Christmas vacation. Or I got a Jolly of the Month club.
How did longevity pay work to your understanding?
Was it like, was it $100 per year of service after 5 years? Right, you remember? Or
So
$100 a year?
Brian, you experienced it, right?
What's that?
I think it was capped at
After,
1,500 or something like that.
No, it's,
wasn't it?
I think it was either capped at 2,500 or something, because I was at 2,400 last year and I didn't get it, and I wasn't capped yet.
yeah, I think, it might have been 2,500 to 25 years of service.
Okay.
So it'd be $100 for,
I just,
I can get that, it's in the, I'm sorry, Brian.
go ahead,
I know it's in the employees manual, it should be an easy get.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
would you like a copy of the personnel manual sent to the
yes,
board?
please, yeah.
Okay, not a problem.
Okay. Any other
A
questions?
couple, are there any negotiations going on with City of Grand Haven, City of Holland, Grand Valley State University to pick up some policing responsibilities there?
From us to
Yeah.
contract with us. Right now, I'm not in any negotiations with any of the police departments to take over services from them.
Have any units dropped off that haven't contracted? No.
And do you know off the top of your head what the undersheriff steps?
Currently, yeah, before the wage study, no, I don't have it on the top of my head.
We've got it, I think, in here. I
Yeah.
just wonder if you knew it.
No,
Madam Chair,
Yes,
would you like a breakdown of the chief deputies for all of the countywide electeds?
yes. That would
Oh.
be lovely. And I have that forthcoming too.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
as a follow-up to that question, would you like both the current as well as the proposed under the Baker Tilly?
yes.
yeah, that's the proposal.
Thank you.
I know this, I know the proposed Baker Tilly one lowers his salary, which I have my own. There's a whole separate thing there.
Sheriff, it is conceivable that a position like yours could be setting policy while spending many of your days on the golf course. That is not your position right now, is that correct?
No, I'm generally a 40 to 50 hour a week sheriff, but yeah, honestly, you could be as checked out as an elected as you want. And I think that's one of the things we have to balance, right? Of you could be as ignorant as you want in this position. And that's the hard part, because you're not hiring me based on my qualifications. I happen to be qualified, but I think what my point to you is, I think you should pay it so that someone with my qualifications doesn't retire to become a township manager somewhere, which was my goal when I got my master's degree. I didn't see this coming. And so ultimately I'd leave law enforcement. It's not like Sarah's position where she can go to private practice and make a ton more, where there's chief's positions, sure, and I think I haven't looked to see what they make because they don't have a jail, so it doesn't become comparable. A lot of my liabilities and a lot of my operations are there. But ultimately, you want to make sure you attract the people that have the intelligence and the education and those skill sets. And I think that's where I think the case can be made to raise the salary somewhat.
And where are we at with body cams?
Are all rolled out.
Awesome, thank you.
Body cams, in-car cameras. Yeah, they're all rolled out, have been since maybe February, if not earlier.
What do you think would be a fair differential between the sheriff and the sheriff positions?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see what happens. We're gonna have our own specific wage study to deal with, because all our deputies start in bargaining units with fighting arbitration. And so the talk is how much should be between each step. I would say, 7 to 10%. But ultimately, again, I think the wage study lowered the newest wage study is keeping my chief deputy and my undersheriff in the universal wage scale, which I don't. That's not for this body for me to bother you with that timing wise, but I would obviously say that my chief deputy is the equivalent of chief of staff, where I'm setting policy, I'm doing long range planning, I'm doing a lot of the relationship maintenance. If he's the one out there making it happen, the undersheriff is making sure that we get the budget for it and working with county administration. So there's a lot of moving parts. So I'd say 7 to 10, if not 12%.
And the undersheriff, if you were unable to fulfill your role because you were injured or something, the undersheriff steps into that role, is that correct?
Yes,
And is that, is there a timeline on that?
as far as,
If you were injured for 6 months, would that person still say?
well, he'd be acting, even when I leave town, he's the acting sheriff if I'm unavailable or if I'm on a flight. And the way we manage, generally myself and the undersheriff and the chief deputy are on the same page on most things, and they know when to defer and they can take action. I'd have to check the Michigan Constitution, because that's what sets his being my successor, and then policy sets the rest, is the chief deputy, if the undersheriff and I are both take at the same time.
Thank you. Any other questions? No, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next we'll move on to Cheryl Clark, our treasurer.
I have some information that I'd like to pass out. All right, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. First, I would like to say about 90% of what the treasurer's office does is mandated by the state. And I would like to go through all the functions that I have as the treasurer. First of all, I organize and monitor the budget for 3 different budgets. The general fund for our office, the delinquent tax revolving fund, and the land bank authority. Depository for all county funds. I handle all of the cash that flows into the county and out of the county. I am the bank of the county. I invest surplus funds according to Public Act 20. I followed the Ottawa County's investment policy, which is stricter than Public Act 20. And in 2025, our portfolio averaged 3.587% an annual return. And we invested over $200 million. I manage the bank and investment accounts with 35 bank accounts that I manage for the county alone. In addition to that, I manage 23 road commission bank accounts. I manage the delinquent property tax collection. The law recently changed, as Amanda Price knows, adding on a whole year to that whole collection process, which has led to additional responsibilities for me and my staff. I maintain the delinquent tax revolving fund. And this year we foreclosed on 7 properties. We started off March with 300 properties and ended up with 7 properties at the end. 3 of them were homes and the rest of them are all vacant land. The goal of my office is to be a foreclosure prevention specialist by connecting homeowners with resources. Manage the dog and kennel license certification and collection. And we are currently working on an awareness program to get more dogs licensed. I manage the delinquent property tax searches and the delinquent property tax certifications. Library penal fine collection and distribution. This is something that happens on an annual basis. We collect all the money from the courts and we turn that money around and give it to the libraries as required by the state. Manage the Municipal Civil Infractions Bureau. So the 5 departments within the county that issues citations, our office manages all of those citations and the collection of those citations. And when we are not able to collect them, then we pass them on to the court collection. I have reporting requirements. Report to the Board of Commissioners, to Fiscal Services Department, to the state of Michigan, to the United States Census Bureau, to the Road Commission. I am also the member of the Elections Commission, Plat Board, Tax Allocation Board, Brownfield Authority, the Insurance Authority, the Building Authority, and the Land Bank Authority, of which I chair. The Land Bank Authority in this past year has had more meetings than we had in the previous years. We are working on one big project with JR Automation right now, and we're taking their property, doing a lien with them on their property, and so that they can get some brownfield incentive dollars. We are also looking at taking one of the houses that I foreclosed on into the land bank, because it is a drug house. And we are worried about the potential effects to the, EPA, I guess you would say, we're worried about those effects. The sewage is backing up in the basement and they've been living in this house without any utilities, running water, nothing. So, we are looking to take that property into the land bank and demolishing it and getting some grant funds to do that. I attend township and board and city council meetings outside of my office hours. And my name is on every check. We are the fastest growing county, as Sheriff DeBoer said. And my experience, I believe, is comparable with the fiscal services director, which I gave you a spreadsheet with what her proposed salary will be with this wage study. And that I believe that because my experience is comparable with hers, that I should be compensated to be the same as her. My compensation is her, and also to be comparable with Kent County. Do you have any questions?
Can I ask you the same question, probably everybody, the same question about differential between your chief deputy and yourself?
Yes.
Have you thought about what maybe percentage that should be?
So you'll see on that spreadsheet that I gave you, the proposed pay scale for my chief deputy will be 131,296 at the maximum, which is almost as much as what I'm making.
Would you agree with the sheriff DeBoer that a 10% or maybe a 12% differential is where we ought to be, or?
Yes, I would say so.
Is your chief deputy currently making on this wage scale?
I don't know what he is currently.
Oh. Okay. Any other questions?
There's a long list of responsibilities here, but you still had time to do some moonlighting. It sounds like over the last year. What were your additional responsibilities at the insurance authority?
Oh, I was not moonlighting. I was given an agreement, and I signed the agreement to do report to the insurance authority work group and to the board on the various lawsuits that are going on with the delinquent tax collection process. One of them being the lawsuit with the Supreme Court that we are waiting on their assessment on.
Is that Raffaele?
Yeah, no, that one is Isabella County.
And are all the federal class action lawsuits settled?
No, they are not.
Okay, so that's an ongoing.
That is an ongoing.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
to the other group, if you haven't looked up Isabella County versus Pung, P-U-N-G, it's a pretty fascinating claim. It has absolutely devastating impacts on local units of government if it goes a certain way. So Cheryl's comment is very appropriate. This is something that's being actively watched by the state of Michigan, by the Treasurers Association, and by Cheryl and her team.
Right. And when I report on it, instead of having an attorney present to report on the cases, I'm reporting on it, saving the county insurance authority money by doing that.
Would that not naturally be part of your role on that?
No,
board?
normally you would have the attorney report on the cases.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bill Bush, Water Resources Commissioner.
Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate giving me the time to chat with you. Again, Joe Bush, Water Resources Commissioner, elected back in 2013. I believe a few of you came to my office and visited me, I think 2 years ago already. And I believe the three of you, we met back in 2024 and talked about my pay back then, to be compensated the same as the treasurer, the register of deeds clerk. So, but I do appreciate taking the time today to listen to me and kind of go over the things that I do in my office. And it's a little unique, but again, Ottawa County being the fastest county out of the top 10 counties, one of the things that I do is infrastructure, right? I work with all the municipalities in the county. I am countywide. One of the unique things about me is I'm on call 24/7. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. I get calls, whether it's flooding, whether it's drought, whether there's a water main issue. I get all the calls, water related. I am they call me Mr. Water because it's water resources. It's not drain commissioner, which I take pride in. I take pride in customer service and I take pride in the things that I do in my department. I think you all got a justification part in your packet. And I'm gonna just talk about that. So if you want to go to that quickly, but I think it was in your packet.
It's a big packet.
Oh, I know. I don't know, Brian put it together. There is my PowerPoint in there from 24. I did not put 25 in there because I haven't given 25 an annual report yet, which I will in a few months. I'm on dash to get my,
You know where that's at in here, Brian?
Looking right now.
I was trying to make it easier for you guys, so everybody knows in the packet is what I'm referring to.
It's showing one page.
Yeah, well, it's actually two, but this is the one, it's two-sided for me, but it says justification and market comparison for water resources commissioner's compensation. So I don't know, just for your guys' information.
That's fine, meeting either.
Oh, I did. Give it.
Yeah. I'm gonna make copies.
Okay. So I don't know if you want me to keep going or.
Yes, please.
Okay, so in this document, it's an overview. My current pay right now is 126. 937. Recently, that's been out in the open, which is fine, as I should be all transparent. But if you compare it to other counties, and we'll just go to Washtenaw, 170, Kalamazoo, 138, 399, Kent County, 143, 200, Ingham, 137. Again, Ottawa, fastest growing county with the most, pretty much the most drains in the state of Michigan, and the most responsibilities is 126. So I just want to reference that. Ottawa County Water Resources Commissioner oversees a unique, complex set of responsibilities, and which is the MS4. We're going to talk about that program oversight, which I see over 8,100 catch basins, 292 ponds, and 678 outfalls, which have to be inspected on a regular basis. Again, these are all required by Michigan Drain Code and the state of Michigan. These are all requirements. This isn't extras. This is required in my elected duties. The other one is drain oversight. Again, we're more over 1,000 county drains. That's legal jurisdictions that I have, which is in my annual report back in 2024 that you guys have before you. Again, those are active county drains. We're always somehow acquiring new ones through petitions, whether it's people petitioning for more county drains or jurisdictions from local municipalities. The other one is special assessment financing. We do all that internally with my staff, working with Dickinson and Wright, our legal counsel for financing. We also do development oversight, right? We do review the developments in Ottawa County. We average 90 new active permits for building in Ottawa, which is more than any of our colleagues that I talk about. The other one is emergency preparedness. One thing that I always on call for is flooding. When the phone rings in the middle of the night and it's thunderstorming, it's usually a pretty emergency situation. We just had those about a month ago, a couple of times. So when 911 calls me or the emergency manager, I'm on call and we will go and take care of that. We also do flood risk management, and then we have the dam and lake levels that we oversee. Then we also have GIS integration, which is planning, asset tracking, and regulatory reporting. Again, I get audited by Eagle, by the state of Michigan for soil erosion and the MS4 permit. We get, again, pretty long, thorough audits.
Tell us what MS4.
MS4 is like municipal storm sewer separators. So there is in the packet, through the PowerPoint, there is a map in there that shows Ottawa County, and it'll show the MS4 areas of, and you'll see it, it'll say MS4. that's how much it's grown. We have a staff and a half now just dedicated to MS4. And that is more inspections on a routine basis in your urbanized areas. So the more we grow, the bigger the urbanized area gets, and the more responsibilities I have. And then part of that, thanks, Brian. So as soon as you guys get this, on the very bottom, it'll talk about the, it'll compare it to Kent, Washtenaw, Kalamazoo, and Livingston. And then it'll talk about how many drains they have. And then it'll talk about soil erosion permits a year and the MS4 oversight. And it'll hit on development projects a year. If you go to like Washtenaw, they review 60 to 70 a year. Kalamazoo, these are all from my colleagues, so I didn't make this number up. It is facts. I just didn't OI it or AI, or I didn't just, whatever. I didn't just make up these numbers. So I didn't chat GPT it either. So these are numbers from my colleagues in other counties. And it'll talk about the oversight on the bottom. The other one is, so one of the things that I want to really hit on is when it comes to water, again, it just isn't about drains. It's about water quality and water quantity. There have been issues in our county in the last 13 years since I've been elected of groundwater. Still a topic, it's the main topic in this county. And we're kind of leading the charge on opportunities of what that looks like on aquifer recharge, reuse, repurpose water. So again, water is our most precious non-renewable resource. And one of the things I do to try to protect it or reuse it or make sure people have it. Even drinking water, to a point of people are always asking me, Joe, what are we gonna do about drinking water? Not today, not tomorrow, but 10, 20, 30 years from now. So it is an issue, and I take those calls and try to respond. When I look down through here and I look at the responsibilities, the volume of the drains we have, development activity, the soil erosion program, the 24/7 on call, which is fine. I love it all. I think you guys know me well enough. I have a passion for this job. I love this job. And I always make sure that out of 300,000 people, and you've heard it by the sheriff, you've heard it by Cheryl, there's a lot of people in this county to take care of. And when it comes to water, one of our main priorities. It's what makes Ottawa County grow. It makes what Ottawa County is for people to live and work and play here. So as your elected official, being the water boy, they call me, I take pride in it. And when I look at my base range, I think it should be somewhere in the 145 to 165 range. Because then when you look at other department heads, or you look at my wage at 126 currently, my chief deputy would be at 122 if the wage study goes through. That's like, that's not much of a wage gap in between. That's pretty close. So, and kudos to my chief deputy. It's great to get the deputies up there in the wage study. But again, at 126, I feel like we should be up there. So that's my recommendation, would be at least to make what Kent County does, being that we have a lot more oversight. And kudos to Kent County for what they make and other elected officials. But again, that's kind of my statement today, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yep.
Were you supposed to, on this document, give us salaries, but was there a comparison of the number of drains and stuff as well? I only,
Oh, we didn't. It's on the back.
oh.
None of ours.
Not on ours.
Okay.
Joe, if you give me a copy of the
It's on here. That's
Okay.
that's why I want to make sure you guys have it,
Okay.
but it is on there. So all that information of developments, soil erosion permits, a lot of counties don't have the soil erosion within them. Like Kent County, they don't have the soil erosion program. The Kent County Road Commission has a soil erosion program. But we have it internally. There's not many drain offices that have it internally, but it works well for us. We communicate well with our municipalities and the developers, and it's all under one house, and we can provide a better service that way. But Kent County and Muskegon County, it's at the Board of Public Works, and then in Allegan County, the soil erosion program is in the Health Department. So Randy down there oversees it, but in Ottawa, it's internal. The MS4 too actually is with a lot of municipalities, like in Kent County, but I oversee it all pretty much in Ottawa. So that's the difference, kind of like the sheriff, with the programs, the contracts. Ottawa's a little unique because we oversee the whole county.
I have one other question. Why do we have more drains than other counties?
I just think Ottawa was the place people want to develop.
Oh, I see.
Because these drains are from the mid 1800s, and I'm always happy to show you the jacket files from the drains. We're working on one right now on Lake Michigan Drive. If you go down through there, you'll see a shoulder closure with a concrete barrier on it. That drain was established in 1909. So all the files from 1880 to about 1930, well, we have them all, but that's when a lot of drains were developed. Because I think Ottawa County was the place where people wanted to bring their families and develop, whether, commercial, industrial and subdivisions. So they established county drains at that time.
I also just wondered if it's because we were luckier than other areas.
That could be too. And
Okay.
we still are. If you go down in, places down in Hudsonville and, there's a lot of muck fields around yet, but, the best soils around. That's why they grow the vegetables and the crops they do in those locations.
And the Grand River flows through and, yeah, there's a lot of,
And you need outlets. So the more drains, you gotta get the water to go somewhere, and you have, which was McIntyre River, McIntyre Lake, or Lake Mac, and then you got Spring Lake, and you got the Grand River. All my tributaries go into one of those major bodies of water, somehow, some way, but it makes its way.
other questions. Yeah, Ron.
Couple, again, getting to the differential between chief deputy and the elected official, what do you think about this?
It should be in that 10 to 12 probably percent. I want to be consistent with my fellow elected officials, just so it's consistent across the board. So whatever that is.
Secondly, historically, have you been kind of tied to the clerk register of deeds salary? Yes.
No, nope, it was just till 2024 is when 3 of these members and some other members voted to make it equal back in 24. So,
But it never was historically.
no, we've always been lagging behind, and they were trying to make it where it made sense based on the knowledge and the information back in 24. So that's why that meeting happened. So please do it within 45 days.
Joe, which three are you talking about? 'Cause I don't. 'cause
It was you three,
Because we're here, that's why it says us three.
Angela, you, and Mark.
So Mark, do you recall having any kind of vote like that? To,
It was, we did have a vote, Larry was there too, but
we,
There was 6-0, May 2. That was in the Common Group, legal opinion. So it did happen.
we had a talk, but
my recollection is no vote ever happened. Angela, do you have any recollection of?
there was a lot of voting going on during that time, yes.
For
But
the May 2nd meeting.
it could have been during that one, we voted on a lot of stuff that day, but we did talk about his salary, yes, that day, yeah. I remember that.
My recollection was had been some talk about equalizing all 5 countywide positions, but that no action was taken.
But again, I'm not here to go backwards.
Understood.
I'm not here to create an argument because it's already.
Oh, right, yeah, he's just trying to remember.
No, I
Yeah,
understand. I'm just saying, I remember it. I was there. I haven't missed these meetings. People laugh at me because I attend them all, but I've been
You
here
do, everywhere you do show up alone.
for 13 years, every 2 years when we have the officers' compensation. That meeting would have never happened in 2024 because John Gibbs didn't even know this compensation existed. And I went and reminded him at that time that you might want to get a meeting put together because the timeline, it's usually March, usually 40. And I was trying to help back in the day. Anyway,
There was a time, and I did a spreadsheet where the clerk and treasurer's salaries were on par. It was shortly after the merge, the clerk register of deeds with the clerk and the register of deeds were merged. And then it was about 4 or 5 years it stayed that way, and then Justin's salary went up a bit. Yeah, so. Yeah. Yeah, yes, Ron.
So, Joe, with the insurance authority money, you've effectively been put as an even yearly salary with the clerk, have you not?
just a little, it's about 1,000 less, but we're close there. Yeah, and that's just a one-time thing, 2026. So that's
I
not,
realize in 2025.
that's one of
like that
the.
happened. Yeah, correct.
What's that?
In 2025, nothing like that happened.
Correct. I never went back, and that part of the agreement was to erase 2025, like it never happened. Yeah. So whatever that compensation would have been, I did not receive it, which is fine.
So that didn't happen, that insurance money didn't happen until 2026.
That's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So you do the same thing to the insurance authority, do you report on that, or what do you do for the insurance?
Yeah, my task is because the county owns property of where the phase 2 and 3 would have went for 231, and I'm very familiar with development and developers and the whole thing with infrastructure. So the task was to figure out and work with MDOT to see what the new, or not new, the phase 2 and 3 looks like, a timeline, the property, the kind of the value of that property. Just because of my connections with MDOT, I know most of them in Lansing, so I have that direct connect, and I've been meeting with them along with Jason Latham from the Ottawa Area Coordinating Council and the Road Commission Director Brett Laughlin as well. So, but that was a task that I'm still working on because it's not finished yet, but I've given reports already back to the insurance authority on the progress. But we're not finished because I got more meetings with MDOT, and the Ottawa Area Coordinating Council, Jason Latham, and the Road Commission on what could that be for transportation. Maybe it's not phase 2 and 3 for 231, but is there other opportunities to use land, that particular property that the county owns? What's the value of it for transportation moving forward? Because Ottawa County is still growing and there is a transportation need. And is this location that location? So that's part of that study. It's more than $12,000 worth of study, I can tell you that. But I'm happy to do it because I'm proud to serve. So.
Any other questions? Yes, Ron?
Wait, I want to put you on the spot a little bit.
Hey, put me on the spot. You know me, Ron. We've worked together for years, so.
I do. Do you feel you should be, paid, in some kind of relationship with the clerk, and the treasurer? So
You mean comparables?
comparable, yeah. You see that as
I think it's valuable.
a guideline of any kind?
Yes, I think it'd be a good guideline. Cause I think I think when Justin gets his, he's going to have the same kind of scenario where he should be. But when you look at our growth and being one of the fastest growing counties, forecasted, we're not slowing down, and the responsibilities keep growing. Whether it's my office, the sheriff sat up here or stood up here very tall. Leon said what he's doing in his department. So yeah, I think it would be comparable. It's almost like Washtenaw because they're across the board all the same, but I think it leaves a lot of the unknowns out if you make them all comparable in salaries.
What do you mean by the unknowns?
Well, because you go based on position, not the person, right?
Right,
So
right, right.
that's what, it's election, right? 2028, things can happen. But the responsibilities shouldn't change, and the people who get elected should be working for the people, not for the money. About what's expected by the responsibilities of everything I talked about. And what I mentioned in my 2024 annual report. And again, the reason 2025 is not in there because I haven't given it yet. My annual report's due coming up, so to the Board of Commissioners. Any more questions?
No?
I don't
Thank you
think.
very much.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Is there a current census comparison between the counties? I'm only looking at, the one that, Eric Ford put in his presentation, and it's from 2020.
When you say census, you mean the actual census, you're looking for population data?
Yes. Is that in here somewhere? I just couldn't find it. It would just be useful, I think, when compared.
No. That's not something that we've inserted in there. That's something that we can certainly put together for the group.
Oh.
Madam Chair, I've got 2 items that have been requested. Would you like that added as a third?
yes, please. I looked it up myself because when I was treasurer, we always were cognizant of where we were on the list of top 10 or whatever, so I did that myself, but that's a good list because my numbers are a little higher than what Eric said.
Well, I think it's just important for us to know. Everyone has said we're the fastest growing county in the state, but I just don't have those numbers in front of me, so.
We'll put together that and get it out to the group.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Now, clerk register deeds.
Madam Chair, appreciate it, and thank you guys for what you do. A little more attention recently on this group, but I'm very grateful for transparency in this and for guys being online and available for people to to watch and see this. I think it's really important. And Brian and Regina for all of your support as well. So our number was 306,000, I think, residents in Ottawa County currently. So my office obviously is a customer service driven operation that serves all of our residents in some way, shape, or form. The clerk of the circuit court, roughly 130,000 documents a year on average over the past 5 years have been processed by our circuit court records division. The register of deeds, our combined clerk and register office handles all land records. And we're roughly 30 to 60,000 documents per year as well in that area over the past 5 years. Our vital records division, where we have birth, death, and marriage records, we have thousands of copies of those records that we're providing to residents every year, as well as about 4,500 CPLs that our office processes throughout the year. I'm the clerk of the Board of Commissioners, and I take that as an honor to serve in that way. It's a keeper of the official record of our board and all that we do as a county government operation. And then I'm the chief election officer for the county, and we do have 237,910 registered voters as of today. We have an election tomorrow, and that's one of the reasons I know that number right now, but we are growing in that capacity as well, just as we've been growing.
Would you repeat that number?
237,910. As of about the time I came up here, so yeah. We train about 1,000 election workers in every 2-year cycle, and that's a huge part of our election operation. And we also maintain all of our voting equipment. That includes the testing of every voting device before every election as well. As I think, and Eric mentioned a little bit of this too, we are growing, right? We're consistently growing. Some of the things that we're thinking about as we grow in terms of some of the challenges that I see over the next decade or so that we're dealing with. We have had a significant number of changes in Michigan election law that have caused a lot to be put on our election officials, both at the county and at the local level. Early voting adds kind of a new layer of support for us in terms of how we navigate and make sure that we're supporting our clerks and voters. So we have to up our game for, 9 days prior to every state federal election. We're busy doing that. And providing the additional support that is needed for that. Campaign finance has been another tool. We're the campaign finance filing official for every local and county office. And those numbers are astonishing. I mean, we've seen our numbers from on average about 8 to 10 actively reporting committees on campaign finance in 2016. And today we're at just a little under 250. That's actually down from the previous election year where we were about 300. So when you have 250 active committees reporting campaign finance, that means that our staff and our team is looking through all sorts of records, thousands of pages of records and transactions, and making sure that we comply with Michigan election law. Another one of the challenges that I think we're on the cusp of really facing is a positive thing, is the digitization of our records in the circuit court. We have again, millions of documents and records in the circuit court. And right now we have a foot in the digital and a foot in the analog world there. And so that means our staff is really doing double duty as we navigate this system of making sure that we can store and operate a digital workflow, but also physical paper file copies. And so that's one of the challenges that we're coming up against as well. And then something I see in the next few years, we continue to see a lot of national trend in terms of property fraud. And so on the land record side, we are focused on ways that we can do everything that we can to prevent that for our constituents. And that's a real thing. We've seen a couple of instances of it crop up here in Ottawa County. And as we navigate those challenges, I think it's going to take some serious thinking through. Staff recruitment and retention is always at the top of my mind. We have an incredible team of 43 people who I just no way. I frequently tell my team I have a recurring nightmare that I'm the only one that shows up in the office, and thank God that has never actually happened. But it's so important to retain and recruit good people, and I think that is one of the main reasons why I want to be here. To continue to do that team. So I think those are just kind of just a general overview of what we got going on. I think as some of my colleagues have already talked about, we are working elected officials. And I think that's a real advantage to our residents here because we have to be, we have to be accountable and we have to be engaged in the work that we're doing. And I think that matters. As I reviewed your packet that Brian graciously sent out to all of us and the public before you began meeting, I think one of the things that has flagged for me is the fact that my position in the wage and compensation study that you guys have is the only position that is below the median of any elected official in the county. And so I do think that is something that is worth looking at and worth addressing in terms of how we see our elected officials structured to the comparable counties that we're comparing ourselves to. But I also would say, frankly, I trust you guys to make the call. I trust you guys to make the right decision. I think we have a great group of people here. And I'm not worried about it. So thank you for what you do. This is not an easy task. It seems like, in many ways, kind of a random thing that you do, that you have on your agendas and on your plates, I'm sure, but I think it's of real value to have a group like this making these decisions for our public. Yeah, that's all I got.
Are there any questions for Justin?
The same two questions, I guess, everybody else. Thinking about the chief deputy,
Yeah.
and elected differential, do you have a thought about percentage wise what that ought to be?
Yeah, I mean, I don't specifically, I know that the current differential is a little bit lower than some elected officials because.
Looks like
or
about
the
6,500 maybe.
Yeah, the proposed, I should say. Yeah, and maybe I'm thinking about the wage study that we sort of have yet, or you guys have yet to review.
I'm looking at the maximum though.
Yeah,
Where the current people are at, it's a little bit lower.
it's about a $6,000. I want to say we're somewhere around 87%. So
So
they're about
the 10 to 12%.
I think that makes sense. And what I will say about our chief deputies, at least, I'm kind of in a weird position of having two because I have a chief deputy register of deeds and a chief deputy clerk. And these guys are professionals. I mean, as Eric mentioned, anybody can do this job or at least sit here and get elected, right? Be 18 and registered voter in the county. But our chief deputies are professionals and they do phenomenal work. And it's a technical role. It's a role that they're overseeing a lot of people. And so I respect them and I think they need to be compensated well for that.
Actually, I think I'm mistaken. It's more like 50,000.
The differential between our two.
Does that amount seem comfortable to you? That's pretty close to 10%.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that makes sense.
Do you have any thoughts about whether your salary should be tied to any other elected officials such as water resources or treasury?
I don't, and again, I think I would guess, I want to give a political answer. I literally defer to you guys on this stuff, but ultimately I don't see a reason for the salaries to be tied together. We have, the role of clerk and register of deeds is a varied role. And, I have a lot of staff and a lot of very different responsibilities. We all have responsibilities that are different from one another. So and we don't see that typically around the state. I think, that is something that is yeah.
I'm sorry.
And I guess I would say that without, making a comment at all on my colleagues who are an amazing group of people. We work really well together. And I think we all are working, this is what we do for for our families, right, to be here. This is a full-time job for all of us, and I think fair compensation is really important.
Just a follow-up, it looks like this list of department heads, non-elected department heads, only all but two have a maximum salary higher than yours. Is that a
I don't think I have that.
look?
I mean, I believe you.
Well, you know, we're trusting Eric DeBoer, I think, so.
That's right.
Yeah.
I would just be so sure on the
By reading it, right, looks like that whole list of people are quite a bit higher than the clerk register of deeds.
Well, I think you have to take into account our operation as well. You know, I mean, I supervise 43 staff in 3 locations and oversee elections and circuit court records and land records and vital records. And so it is a, you know, as most clerk and register of deeds operations in Michigan are, it's a varied organization where we're dealing with a lot of complex things. Which is why, you know, when I look at the median salary range that you have in the Notley study, there is a difference there of about $9,000. Which is interesting because it's I'm the only official in that category, so.
I know Sheriff Clark mentioned that her salary in comparison to the fiscal services director is quite a bit lower. You know, arguably, there's some similarity between duties, involves money.
Right,
So there's no direct comparison, I don't think, for the clerk necessarily, but
yeah, I mean, it's an interesting, Michigan government's a fascinating study in, you know, in a lot of ways, some good ways of doing things. So my comparison would be.
Go ahead.
Couple of things, Justin. First, let me say, your department I have to use from time to time. And
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate the customer service that I've gotten every time I've been there. Part of my business deals in the sale of firearms. And I tell every one of my customers that has to come to Ottawa County to get a license to purchase, to please bring it downstairs to the clerk's office where they won't charge you to notarize your license to purchase, even though our sheriff's department will. Second, you were last elected in 2024, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it? Do I recall correctly that you were not opposed in either the primary or the?
I was not, yeah, I was not opposed.
Would it be fair to say that nobody in the county wants to do your job?
I want to comment on that.
Okay,
That was a surprise to me too, so.
all right, just wanted to point that out.
Warren does a good job and nobody needs to run against him, one of those two.
It's always, it's important that we are elected because I think it holds us accountable, need to be accountable, so.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we'll move on. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
guys, appreciate it.
And then prosecutor, Sarah Majoysick.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
I reiterate the gratitude that I have for all of you and your service to this. I don't know how you got roped into it, but I do appreciate it. So you've heard a lot of information today. When it comes to the prosecutor's office, one thing that I really want everyone to be very aware of, as I've noticed a lot of people don't know, is that the prosecutor is the chief law enforcement officer of Ottawa County, which means that not only are we handling all the cases from the sheriff's department, which constitute approximately 75% of our cases, we also are dealing with Grand Haven Police Department, Holland Police Department, Zealand, Grand Valley, MSP, DNR, and all other police agencies who are investigating crimes within our county. So the complexity that's involved with dealing with law enforcement when it comes to a prosecutor's offices, even though they might not be giving us as many cases, they all have their own ways of handling things. So their own set of detectives, their own set of computer systems and case management and discovery and body cams and different systems. And I kind of describe our office as the center of a hub where we're kind of like getting all the information from all these different agencies that handle things differently. And then we also have to disperse it in all kinds of different ways to different agencies. So that complexity with technology has just been absolutely time consuming for myself as I have to make those ultimate decisions, and certainly an amazing staff that I have that helps get that information to me correctly. But we have to provide that information and communication with 6 of our courts. So a lot of people don't understand the prosecutor's office not only handles adult criminal cases, we also handle juvenile criminal cases, as well as mental health hearings, personal protection orders, adult, abuse and neglect cases. There's a lot of facets. We have the contract, the Department of Health and Human Services to cover those abuse and neglect hearings as well. So all of our courts and all of our judges, we have to make sure they're facilitating communications and staff and technology in order to make sure that's all happening. Although the public defender's office cases that they actually handle from start to finish only constitute approximately a third of our cases, and that's only the adult criminal. We still have a lot of coordination we have to have with that department, but that other remaining facet involves law firms, privately retained attorneys, people who represent themselves. There's a lot of communication in a lot of different ways. And just with technology, that just becomes more and more difficult for us to handle. The community need for safety and just making sure that we're doing the best for our community, for our victims and for people that are charged with our crimes. Treatment courts, that's become a huge thing. And the more they create treatment courts, the more our office has to be involved. We absolutely have to be involved in those treatment courts to make sure that they're doing the right thing, that people are being treated appropriately, and they're also being held accountable for the crimes and the victims that we serve. So that's a big part of it. So the more growing demands that the community has for these types of programs and services, the more we are getting spread thin in order to make sure that we're properly serving the community in those areas as well. And the elected official for the prosecutor's office have to be a member of a lot of executive boards to make sure that they're also keeping the safety of the community and honoring our victims to the best of our ability. You know, going through our day, I don't even know how to describe what a day looks like because I certainly couldn't. So I'm not going to necessarily try, but I will tell you, if you want to say something is 24/7, besides being a mother, this comes in a very, very, very close second. It is something where at any moment, that phone call, that text, that email has to be responded to within a very short period of time because crime happens quickly. We need to respond very quickly. We need to make sure that people are held accountable and people are safe. So answering to the community, I take pride in that. And again, we're not here to focus on the individual in the position, but I don't think that you can serve as an elected prosecutor here in Ottawa County without serving the public very intimately and making sure that you're available. So we've heard all these stats about the fastest growing, 7th largest, et cetera, et cetera. Ottawa County demands that we are a small town community. So for us to be so large and growing, we still have to be there for our constituents and for our victims and the people that we serve. So that's a challenge of Ottawa County that I enjoy. It's part of the reasons I love it. And there's no other place I'd rather be. I've been here serving as a prosecutor for 25 years. I've seen what it was like back then. I know what it's like now, and man, it's different. It's a lot, and it's certainly not going to become less. And if nothing else, it's going to become more. Case in point, I'm sure you've all heard from the the court administrator, when I presented my annual report with her last week, that SCAO, the State Court Appellate Office, has decided that we need more judges here in Ottawa County because of all of our growth. Well, that's great. That means we have more courts we have to show up for it. So we're going to need more staff. That's more time commitments. Ottawa County is very unique in that it's spread all over the place. So we've got courts in Hudsonville and Howland and Grand Haven and Fillmore. Well, if they create new judges, we have to be there and we have to handle the dockets that they handle. So that's just going to get more. They initially had said they were thinking Ottawa needs 3, but they're just going to kind of do 1 and just phase them in here and there. Well, that's just blowing us up. So we're just trying to adjust. Like I said, it's a lot and it's only going to get more. I know that you're looking for numbers, you're looking for information. I don't have it. I feel that Ottawa County has always been extremely generous, and that's one of the reasons why I've always been dedicated to this county and to whom we serve. I will reiterate what Sheriff said about longevity. That was just kind of odd to me. You know, we've been serving here for 24, 25 years, and suddenly out of nowhere, they take away longevity. Well, longevity is about being a county employee and being dedicated to this county. So I would ask that this board consider bringing that back to all county employees. As you know, elected officials do not receive cost of living increases, which is what I think we've noticed a lot of discrepancies when we see chief deputies' salaries getting closer and closer. So you might look at what it is today for both of us, but then you look at it down the road, those chief deputies are getting those cost of living increases. So they're getting that 2, sometimes 3%, and that's just narrowing that gap more and more. So I don't even know if that's something to consider by this board. But certainly, once you decide what that fair compensation would be, I would suggest considering allowing the electeds to have cost of living as well as provided to all other county employees. And I think that will solve that sudden rush every 2-4 years of, oh my gosh, the salaries are getting super close together. So I'll provide that. Other than that, I've provided some information. There is one piece of information that I provided this morning to Brian. I received it this morning. I'd asked for it last week, and actually, by grace of God, that I actually got it today. Did everyone get the annual prosecution survey?
So, Madam Chair, it is built into your packet. And as you look into the prosecutor's information, it is the large sheet that holds out. And for what it's worth, this is where I'm going to once again thank Regina for all of her work on getting this prepared.
One piece of information it does provide you is that population study. So this is the 2026 annual survey. It's based on data from 2025. So it does give you that population number for all the counties that I think will work for you and any of the questions that you have. So that's kind of a helpful tidbit there. How can I help? What questions can I answer?
You might need help understanding acronyms, but
I got you there.
Okay. Any questions, Ron?
I
Yeah.
got my usual ones
Yeah.
here. Sarah, on the differential between your chief deputy and yourself, if I'm reading the numbers correctly, it's about 25% right now.
So currently, the maximum salary for the chief assistant is 165. The Baker Tilly wage study, again, and this information, well, this says 169.5. So I was rounding down as I kind of feels. So this one says chief assistant salary is 169,584 at max.
Okay, well, this sheet is obviously wrong. It's 141.
Yeah.
That,
And that could possibly be what his current salary is. I'm quoting the number that we have here and the county salary that shows the maximum. So there is a range here that can give you that pretty good. But the maximum salary currently of the chief assistant prosecutor in Ottawa County is 169,584. What is proposed by Baker Tilly is an actual increase to a maximum of 178,645, which would be the highest step in the county. I actually questioned Baker Tilly. Anybody who's been working with me knows that I only ask for what we truly need. And so I questioned that. I said, why are we increasing that step up there? And Baker Tilly said that based on their research in the state and outside agencies, law degrees, private practice, et cetera, that they found that it needed to be up to that step 20 in order for that position to be competitive in the market. So it surprised me as well. So I looked into it. So if this passes through the board, the maximum salary of the chief assistant will be 178,640.
so that would be actually pretty close to 10% differential.
Yeah, I was trying to use my calculator in the back there as you were asking those questions, the benefit of going last. I show 10% is approximately $19,000, so it would be a little bit less than 10%. But I do look at Kent County and Kalamazoo, as you asked that question, I was using my calculator. The differential, I don't have a percentage because I'm not that smart. But when it comes to the amount, the dollar amount, it's closer to 37,000 price difference or wage difference in Kent County, 30,000 difference in Kalamazoo. The significant difference of being elected versus the deputy chief is significant in our office, but that's always been something that we've had that just gets closer and closer of a gap. But ultimately, all the job duties that are involved that are required by statute for the elected prosecutor versus a chief assistant prosecutor adds a significant amount of duties. Nonetheless, just the buck stops here. I have to make ultimate decisions and I have the ultimate accountability and culpability for everything that happens in our office. So, you know, it's hard to come up with those numbers. I know it's easy to provide a differential, but I think if you look at that list and you see the dollars amounts and the salaries between the elected and the chief assistants, you're gonna see that it's gonna be significantly higher than 10%.
Any other questions?
You took office January 1st, 2025.
Correct.
So nearly a year and a half. Have you experienced, do we lose people, prosecutors to the private sector in your year and a half?
No.
Okay.
I have been working very hard on it, but what I can tell you is if we hire the right people who are passionate for being a prosecutor, you're not gonna see them wanna do something else. You know, when this whole, I forgot the title, forgive me, for the new corporate counsel position. You know, the first question is, you gonna lose a bunch of prosecutors for that? I go, heck no, that is not what we wanna do. So luckily, we are really truly here to serve prosecution. Wearing the white hat, that is our desire, that is what we wanna do. So what I find is that we're able to find people from other counties, get the best of the best here because we are pretty competitive and do the best we can to retain those employees. Prosecutors' offices can't keep attorneys right now. They are losing them to the private sector.
Traditionally, that's how your career goes, isn't it? You start off in the prosecutor's office and hopefully sometime in the future have a lucrative criminal defense business.
Ottawa County is blessed. I hope we've sold it as being the best job there.
How many have you hired in your year and a half?
We're full staffed. It's hard to differentiate between me being the elected versus the chief, but I know we've taken on 3 last year. One had 15 years of experience in Muskegon, one worked for the public defender's office, and one worked in private practice doing contract work through the county. So lots of good experience, people who just knew that we were a great place to work.
Okay. Any other questions?
Got a question for Brian.
Yeah.
Apparently this sheet isn't accurate that I've been using. I've been asking a lot of questions
Looks
based on.
familiar from our 24, I think.
Cheryl brought that. She
Yeah.
gave that to us.
Yeah, Cheryl brought this.
Could you update this and make sure the numbers are correct?
I'll happily take a look at it.
Yeah,
I think that might be from the 24. Yeah, 20.
well, it's got
Yeah,
Sarah's salary accurate here.
Yeah.
But looks like the chief deputy is way low,
Mhm.
about 30,000 less, 35,000 less than. Yeah, actually,
Than what it currently is, and that's even less than what Baker Tilly had studied that it should be.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
so I believe we're at 4 information requests. So we've got longevity pay, chief deputy current versus proposed census data, which has been handed out. And then lastly is just, grabbing Cheryl's document, updating it, and then sending it out to the other group.
yeah, I like the format here.
Okay.
And I like the inclusion of some of the department head salaries too. I think it's very helpful.
Any other questions? If not, we will move on then. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now we're on to chair of the board, Josh.
Hey. Guess I'm representing 11 others, 10 others, but I thought Bill Kyers in the audience, so maybe he'll come up too. You let me know when you'd like me to start.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. Hey, thanks again for being here. Josh Kruger, Ottawa County Commissioner from Grand Haven, Spring Lake, and Ferrysburg. I don't know if you guys had time to go through what I emailed or what Brian assisted in emailing you in the packet, but if you haven't, take a look at that. I looked at this in a couple of different ways as far as the commissioner gig goes. It's kind of a strange part-time, quasi full-time position, depending on the week and the day, the tasks or the crisis that may be out there. And you guys are looking for it. I will say this, is it what's that? Okay, keep going. Sorry. I met with, Roger Burton, who was the former District 10 commissioner. Early on, and I said, well, Roger, how much of a time commitment is this? I'm employed, I have a business, I've got kids and family. Said, well, normally,
folks a week. You might have some where you might be under 20 hours, but by and large, about 10 hours a week, and Ron's already laughing. If you guys look at my, what I wrote there, I think, the first 3 months of last year, I used an app that my company uses to track hours. And every time I did something county related, I logged in, and every time I finished, I logged out. I tallied, I think, 1 week with 46 hours. My little weeks were in the 30s. So, and it was a unique time for those first 90 to 120 days and beyond, last year. But I do genuinely think that the role has changed from when Roger Burton was in, working maybe 10 to 15 hours a week. If you could do that on average, it's quite a bit more demanding. Part of the reason for the demand is, I believe, if I could tie it to, I had a conversation with Phil Kyers, social media. I think our constituents rightly expect a lot more of us, and we have to be out, we have to be there in the public, and we have to be available. So I will just read off a little list of what it's like. Boards served on, which you guys have some of that. These are a combination of this year and last year. Full board of commissioners, finance and administration, planning and policy, appointment and alignment. 4. And keep in mind, each of these boards takes between 30 minutes and 3 hours of prep time to go with them. Revenue and economic development, and Ottawa, Muskegon Port and Trade Zone, Insurance Authority, Land Bank Authority, Plat Board, West Michigan Shoreline Regional Development Committee, Spring Lake Lake Board, Floyd's Bayou Lake Board. The District 10 Commissioner is a unique position because there are 2 lake boards in District 10. I believe there's one other lake board, perhaps in Ottawa, which is the district. But at any rate, there's 2 additional boards the District 10 Commissioner has to serve on. Grand Haven, Spring Lake, Ferrisburg Chamber of Commerce is one of the areas where we stay plugged in with our community leaders. That's about 3 meetings a month. Lakeshore Advantage and West Coast Chamber. Now, as the chair, I'm working on and have been attending those meetings probably quarterly. Grand Haven, Spring Lake, Ferrisburg, I have 4 districts. They have monthly meetings. I attend about 1.5 of those a month on average. Community events representing Ottawa County, parks dedications, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Independence Day. Coast Guard event is similar to Tulis Time for those who are in Holland. I'm on for an entire week there at least. Nonprofit events, funerals, ribbon cuttings, community open houses, dinners, etc. And I downplay that at about 3 meetings a month. It's probably more than that. Drive time to committee meetings, community events, phone calls. The chair spends probably an hour at least, if not more, a week reviewing contracts, signing off on those. Regina and the team email those to me, and I also sign some of those in-house. And then the intangibles that we all deal with, these are the best ones. Random conversations with constituents when you're at the grocery store, when you're out to eat, when you're at the bookstore, when you're going on a walk, when you're on a date with your wife, who really loves it. Depending on county issues, getting publicity, this can average 2 hours a week. We go into Meyer, the joke is, I go to shop with Jen and she tries to pull me out probably 2.5, 3 hours later, because I have shopped her thing. I've just been talking to people. Radio spots. So it's a unique position. I'll give you one more tidbit and then just a different way to look at this. I wanted to pull up my last week. So last week, and this is a little bit of an unusual week now, but last week I was in Lansing for the MAC conference. That was better parts of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then Thursday, we had our Board of Commissioners meeting, which was a marathon, 5.5 hour one. After that, I had a constituent that I met with for about 1.5 hours to deal with some issues. And then it was the Grand Haven Area Chamber of Commerce annual awards ceremony. That was 5:30 till about 9 p.m. So I was on from probably 8 in the morning until 9:30 at night. That was a 13.5 hour day. The next day, we had other meetings as well. So my total week last week was 38 hours. Now, unique perspective, and this is maybe me, in all commissioners, I think, who probably deal with this, opportunity cost. You commit time, but you also commit money in some cases. I used to joke with Ron, I think when I came in there, and I'll joke with you guys, but since I've arrived here and by the time I get home,
I will have donated $120 to Ottawa County residents. I come about that by being a licensed general contractor. If I were not here right now, I would be on a job site swinging a hammer. I bill out between $80 and $100 an hour, depending on what I'm doing. The commissioner gig pays about $20 an hour. The differential on the low side is $60 an hour. So for every hour I'm working for the county, I am donating $60 to the county based on last year. I don't know how you quantify that with our compensation, because by no means should a commissioner be making $80 or $60 an hour or anything close to that. But probably more than what we do would be a move in the right direction. So that's it. I'm here for questions. You guys got me? Hit me. Yeah, Ron, I'm the vice chair and chair position.
You got it.
Yeah, okay, all right, good deal. I've had the opportunity, somebody said, I think, Brian had asked me how I rank the board and tell them the difference between a regular committee member, a chair and a vice chair. I said, well, I've never been a regular commissioner yet. Started out as the vice chair and then chair. I would guess that in one of the things that I wrote to you guys, I recommended that the chairman actually get a lower amount above what the full board receives. I think right now the chairman's about 30% above. I recommended 20% above. Yeah, the next chairman may hate me for that. You guys do what you want with it. And then the vice chair is probably half of what the chair is, whatever that is. So the chair is getting an extra 20%, do an extra 10% with the vice chair. Could be closer to 5%. Phil's the current vice chair. He might hit me on that one. But depending on what the chair's involvement is and the level of involvement, they can take a lot of weight off the vice chair. But yeah, I'm imagining there's a lot more work. I will say too, Allison Needham, Commissioner Needham, sent a great email with her total hours. So as far as what a commissioner does, it looks like she tracked those really hard last year. That's a great way to look at that. And Sylvia Rhodey also sent one this morning, which I don't know if you guys have received yet. Yeah, you will receive it soon. Okay, Ron, I anticipated one of your questions. I don't know if you have any.
You know, one of the issues we've been trying to nail down is sort of an average number of hours for the non-leadership people. The other 9. If you were to throw a dart at the wall, what number would you try to hit?
I'm gonna guess Allison's numbers are probably pretty accurate. I would guess she was probably around 15 hours a week. And please do the math on that one, but she did it by month. So divide each month by 4. I don't know. It looks like Angela maybe has it right there. I would guess the regulars. If you're really into it and really trying to meet the needs of the community, and not saying others who aren't as involved are not doing so, but what you want to.
She averaged about 15 to 20 a week.
Yeah, I was gonna say 15. Was probably what I was gonna say for a regular commissioner. I think the vice chair does between 20 and 25 on the high end, probably closer to 20. And then the chair so far, I mean, last week was 38 hours. But it varies. There will be some times where we have very few meetings and I might do 15 hours in a week this year.
My question is gonna be maybe a little bit of a statement. So way our county board is structured with the county administrator. The county board hires the county administrator to run the county. The county board interacts with the county administrator, but it is not, county board is not to be micromanaging departments. Elected officials, anything. That's the work of the county administrator, and all the department heads, they report back to the board on what's going on in the county. And I just want to make sure that that's what your mindset is too, as we approach this, so.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's definitely my mindset. And again, I can't speak to the traditional commissioner role because I haven't played that one yet. I will say that the chair and the vice chair do spend a lot of time on the phone or on emails talking with the administration. Ron was in that role, so he's aware of that, depending on the time of the issue. But we're not so much in those conversations. It's not a matter of micromanaging or dealing with staff issues. That has nothing to do with it. It's about, okay, what are the political calculations on this? What's it gonna look like in the public? What's it gonna look like staff? Again, how to manage this situation.
But as chair of the board, you have certain responsibilities contracts, oversight of certain things that a regular commissioner may not have.
I think I signed a $2 million contract a couple weeks ago, or $3 million, so, oh, hey, okay. You guys are crazy, to trust me with that one. Yeah. Yeah, but no, we should be focused on setting policy and entrusting the delivery of that policy and those services to staff, by and large. That's what our job is.
Are there other questions?
Frown on that one.
Well, I had the benefit of, I'm not sure if you all know, but working as interim deputy administrator for.
He was Brian.
Yeah. Why Brian is here because it's way over my head.
Yeah.
But I did see the leadership and some of the other commissioners spend tons of time here. Daily. You know, like John Teeples might have spent 3 hours on the phone with Gary Rosenbaum, along with the time he spent here, and it just was surprising to me. I had no idea how much time was being devoted to county business.
Yeah.
Which makes me kind of wonder if you're selling yourself short on the bump that the leadership should get.
That's who I am. I don't know. I agree with you, Ron. It is a ton of work.
I mean, we want our best people to do that.
Yeah.
work, and
And I'm probably the, for example, on the opportunity cost, or maybe I am, I don't know, the 60 to 80 bucks an hour donated. Like you take somebody like, Mr. Teeples, who is a retired attorney, he could be out billing 300 bucks an hour. He's looking for 18.50 an hour, it's 15 bucks an hour. You make more flipping burgers at McDonald's than you do. Yeah, and yeah, you guys have a philosophical conversation. Who are we looking for to fill these roles? What do we want them to do on behalf of county residents? It's also, I mean, it's a huge part of a great honor, and it's the privilege to be able to do. There's a service component to it that offsets it. But maybe not as much as it.
Noticed also that you had made a comparison to possibly getting paid similar to a legislative salary.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a paradigm shift. I don't remember where I came up with that, but it was, well, okay, how did that look? No idea. I mean, you guys do what you want to do. It's not necessarily a recommendation, hey, we should make this much. It was just a different way to look at it. And if you look at your notes, very simply put, the state representative role is the least paid next level up. State reps, oh, are they not?
Senators and state representatives are paid similar.
Are they paid the same?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's wow. Okay, so your next elected official group, as you go up there, is they represent, the representatives represent likely around 90,000 individuals. Our biggest districts are close to 30,000. So we are roughly 1/3 the size of what they do. So I just took their raw pay and multiplied it by 0.3333. And whatever that number came up, it's just a different way to look at it. The idea with it, it'd be a paradigm shift if you guys did it. I think then the commissioner pay over time would then go and stuff with the legislators pay.
I will note that the legislative pay has not changed since 2011, and it was a 10% decrease in 2010.
Was it really? Maybe we don't want to do that. That might be a bad idea. But they do additional, their leadership roles do get additional. And if you're a chair or you're on different committees and boards, do you get additional or not?
Not as chair,
Okay.
I'm not on committees and boards, only as your speaker or the leadership in the particular house, minority or majority leaders.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, doesn't pay to gun in public service. Not why you do it anyway.
So it's an interesting concept, but it's, be careful what you ask for.
I never got a raise.
Cause you might get it.
You might get it.
And pay.
And then be stuck there for
Yes.
20 years. Oh.
So-
Thank you guys. Oh, yeah.
I want to start with a comment too.
Yeah.
It's my perspective is somewhat different than Amanda's. I've never been an employee of the county. And while of course I don't want you as a commissioner to micromanage the employees of the county, there should be some level of oversight that the citizens of the county can expect. And there needs to be an elected official responsible ultimately for that oversight. If we as citizens don't have someone we can go to with our complaints about something that has happened in the county, because there's no elected official at the top to hear our complaints, that's not a representative form of government. For example, whether or not we agree with what happened with Mr. Bush and
Yeah.
Cheryl
The Clark.
Clark.
Yep.
What I heard in the Board of Commissioners meeting was essentially, this was handled by employees. This was handled probably the best way we could have handled it, move on. I found that to be very unsatisfactory, as a taxpayer in the county.
This is pertinent to our charge here. I'm sorry, interrupting you, because I want to keep us focused on what our charges.
I guess I want to point out that while we don't want them oversight, we do want them providing oversight to all the employees of the county, and ultimately, we want big financial decisions made by this board.
County board, yep.
All right.
By this committee, is what you're saying.
I want well,
By you.
for the electeds, yes, by us. But ultimately, any dollars that are spent need to be in some way reflected by the actions of the board.
Yep.
We cannot have a situation where employees of the county are spending county tax dollars without the board's knowledge.
Any other questions? No, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
And now we have a representative from the road commission, or two.
Kirkland Cooverin, Chair of the Ottawa County Road Commission. I'm used to being limited to 3 minutes.
You guys need me anymore?
No.
I don't think so, no.
First of all, I want to thank you. Last time you gave us a raise, which was the first one we had in like 15 years. And what had happened was, is when they went from a 3 commission to a 5 commission, they took the 3 commissioners' salaries divided by 5, and it was split amount, so it was, and forever we would give them the same amount of money. So I want to thank you for correcting that and increasing our pay. The road commission we managed 1,790 miles of road. Give you an idea, that's from Muskegon down to Key West border. That's what we're responsible for managing. Along with that, we also are the public utilities for a lot of the townships. We're responsible for the water and the sewer. And we also are responsible for the Southwest Ottawa landfill. So we have a lot going on there. This past year, we were fortunate that the state legislature finally did some work on the road funding. We're expecting another 13 million, depending on what happens with the marijuana tax. What we are doing as a board is we're starting to do a lot more strategic planning. Before we were just getting enough money to repair roads and fix them. And with electric vehicles and fuel economies, that money was not increasing. So we had finally were able to see some new funds. We're working with Lakeshore Advantage, we're working with Paul Sachs, trying to get an idea of where we're having developments, what roads need to be adjusted. We're also working with the townships. I have visited all 17 townships once already with construction plans that we have for this coming year. We'll also be reappearing at them in August and September with the next year 5-year strategic plan to get their input. So we are working diligently to keep our township informed. One other idea that we are looking at is holding meetings with the Township Planning Commission, trying to get 3 or 4 of them in an area together. Get their input on the needs for roads, for water, and for sewers. So we are aggressively going out, networking, trying to get the information, and that's what we are about now. So thank you for your time.
Any questions?
How often do you meet?
Every other Thursday morning.
Okay. Thank you.
And then we also have the MAC meetings, or the urban, you get the MAC, Grand Valley Metro Council, Whimsy, Vic, which is West Michigan Regional. We're also representatives on the Parks Commission. So there's a lot of other meetings we are attending. And we're trying to get to the chamber of meetings just to network with business leaders. Get information out there.
I'm sorry.
You meet quite often, and you guys are pretty much meeting quite often with a lot of different places.
We're trying to get out there before. We always had a reputation as being closed-minded and not approachable, and we're trying to fix that. Get a lot of calls from residents, whether it's a pothole, whether there's streets not getting plowed. A lot of times as commissioners, we go out personally to check it first, to see if it's just someone with a minor complaint or neighbors having a little tip. But then we put it up the ladder and we are getting response within 2 to 3 days.
Now, and you have a larger social media presence than I think in the past, you know, if something's happened in the winter. You know, there's a lot of postings online about these roads or that road or, so I follow that quite a bit.
Is that handled by staff or
That's our
So,
is your position elected?
We are appointed by the county board.
Okay.
and road commissions can be under the purview of the county. Some have been taken out back under the county purview but this body is independent, but appointed by the county board.
Basically, you approve our wages. We get our own funding from the state. We get no funding from the county. And then distribute it.
You have an executive director too, correct?
Correct.
And how large is the total staff?
I think 135.
And you also, I mean, we have county roads, but there's state highways.
Yeah, contracts with the state highways.
And you have to maintain those while they're in our county too, so that's part of the 1,790 miles
That's an addition.
in addition.
Oh, that's separate from those miles. So that's in addition to this, then, wow. So you have a lot more than these. Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And then with our other responsibilities, it makes it really difficult for you to find comparisons.
Really? No, okay. Yeah, that's,
So,
wow.
but we appreciate the work that you are doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, but yes, you really do have so how many, in your estimation, how many miles of road do you plow or take it's under your purview then between the contract out between the, state highways and stuff? In an estimation.
I think you did. Yeah, another 100 miles worth of.
Okay, so
Because if you look at your 2 main expressways,
okay, so it's not too much, but it's still a good chunk of road.
because you got 96 and 196 are the main ones.
So for instance, that big pile up this winter, that was Sheriff's Department, Road Commission, boy, that was dramatic.
And then you guys are involved in all that. When that happens, you guys get the call for it and you gotta,
And like this year, we are our winter plowing and salt is 1.3 million over budget.
Well, we appreciate that. I think we've all driven into Allegan County and been like, oh, I know I just crossed the county line.
And we love here, we get that quite often and. Yeah, but really gaining a lot more positive response from the community. And understanding. And keep working to do that.
Madam
So-
Chair,
Yes,
just to chime in, tell me if these sound right. 521 lane miles of state highway system, 136 bridge structures, in addition to the 1,700 plus miles that you're already maintaining.
wow, so the bridge structures, all that falls under your purview and stuff.
Yes. Okay. Each one of those runs about 2 million to replace.
so sorry, this is not probably a question pertinent to us, but if you needed to replace a bridge, what's the timeline in identifying, to getting the approval, to getting the funding, to getting it done?
5 years.
Oh, wow. So it's lengthy process.
Well, you have to go through. that, you got a lot of times you are dealing with DEQ because you're dealing with a waterway.
It's a lot of hoops.
Any other questions?
Hey, Mr. Branch, quiet, that's gonna be a miracle. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Field.
I'd make some very quick comments. I was chairman of this commission for 2 terms. Served on it for over 10. And the only person here whose salary set was Ron's. And I just want to give you a little bit of historic information real quick. We, in an early period, we made a major change in the compensation systems for the county commissioners. They were being paid, frankly, a very low salary, but huge numbers of benefits. For a county employee, health, dental, haircuts, I don't know a little bit, but we basically changed it to basically give them a higher pay and lower benefits. And the idea was that we would start to get some younger county commission members, and that began to happen, which was a good thing. One of the interesting things we did, and Regina may remember this, we did a comparative study of the salaries of 4 or 5 counties larger than us, 4 or 5 counties smaller than our county. And the ones that I recall us doing were Arion, Allegan, Muskegon, Kent, Washtenaw, Ingham, Kalamazoo, and Genesee. I think those are the counties that we compared. And we looked at the salaries of the elected officials, but we also looked at their benefits. Some of them had a car, for example, and some of them didn't. But we looked at those kinds of things when we were looking at the salaries. And then we really tried to go a little bit above the middle because we felt our county elected officials were pretty special. But one of the things that I would urge you to do is not look at the number of years that an elected official has been, a countywide elected official has been in their role. Look at the position. Because you're comparing salaries to positions, not the individual who may be heroic. It just is a suggestion to you. It's the individual, not the position, not the individual. One other small thing, and I know it's not your area of concern. We are really wonderfully served in this county by a number of committees and commissions that are appointed. I'm on the Parks Commission, for example, as well as the Road Commission. And there you have the Brownfields, Commission, the Farmland Preservation Commission. You have many different committees. I don't know how our per diems for those hardworking citizens of this county compare to the per diems in other counties. I don't know. We may be high, we may be low. But I think it'd be great if we looked at it, again, a comparative to maybe a similar sized county stars to see what they do. Just some suggestions for you. And you need to know Kurt Vancouvering has been chairman of our commission, and we have had dramatic changes in the way we're looking out to work with our community. He did not mention in great detail, we kind of touched on it. We also have the a utilities project, and we have the water systems and the sewer systems that connect to our communities. And one of the things I think is great to have Brian on the staff is that Berrien County has a very advanced system, and it might be something that we would want to look at in the future, not necessarily. I don't think Herb would disagree with me. We're not necessarily on the road commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That was a public comment. Okay. So we have an action items, which is review the wage and benefits survey from Mr. Notley.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just before you wrap up the public hearing,
Mhm.
just
Oh, yes.
double check to see if there's any other members of the public which wish to be heard. And then a motion to close the public.
Thank you for reminding me.
I'd like to, but comment, I've been a commissioner for
for a long time. And, and when I was a commissioner, and we had an amazing, administration, there was, very little work for commissioners. What social media has done to change my job is a totally different aspect of what I used to have as county commissioner. There's a lot of time, putting out fires that shouldn't even exist just because of social media, and I realize that, but it's just part of what it is now, because of the society we live in. I think part of what makes our job easier and rolls faster and not as much time consumed is who you hire for administration. Makes all the difference in the world, and who we elect as elected is all the difference in the world. So what we have now is, I think deputy and our administrator is outstanding. I think that might make our jobs easier and less time, but you know, Josh didn't mention, I was one when after I was chair, and I reported to the commission that, yeah, I think the chair does deserve quite a bit more difference in conversation, because I know how much time it takes and how much work it is. So that's just my comment to you. Yes.
Just a quick question to you, because you've been in there. So the first year you were chair, I'm sure there's a lot of learning and ramp up time, just getting up to speed on being.
You know, when you served as vice chair
Uh,
and then moved into chair, it wasn't much of a ramp up. You knew about all the stuff that you're getting involved with. I mean, John and Josh are two different comparisons. If you look just at the job, it's really not that way. If you're vice chair as a chair and you rolled into it, you have most of the knowledge when you get
Okay.
there.
Didn't know for that first year that you were, if you're not vice chair, but it sounds like the way it's structured, there'd be a vice chair to move into the chair role.
That's the way it's structured. Does it have to be that way? No, whoever they elect is who they elect. So, I mean, elections make all the difference in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So we'll go
Oh.
support.
Okay. Any discussion on that? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we will go into the action items and review the state wage and benefit study from Mr. Notley.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So I touched on this earlier, just in the staff report that was sent out to you at the beginning of your packet. The Notley report has been updated. All information in there now is correct and been verified. So that was item one. As it relates to the other items, since your last meeting, we've worked to provide you with a copy of the board's calendar of meetings. So this would be both the Board of Commissioners meetings as well as their committee meetings. So you have that document. There is a list of the standing committee assignments. And that's been provided. Regina put together a sample of the mileage that would show was for 2025. It's not a scientific study, but it gives you an idea of how much commissioners are moving around the county. And then one item that was discussed at the last meeting, which I have not yet prepped for you all, is just showing if you were to provide some type of stipend to opt out of county health insurance. We do have that program for full-time staff. I will get that information to you, just so you have the information if it helps you make decisions. As I looked through my notes, I think we covered everything that was discussed at the last meeting. However, I've got notes to prep additional documents. I've got 4 items that I'll be prepping for all of your review. I can keep going, but in the spirit of time, I'll stop there.
Do you, and another question I have in line with the stipend opt-out, how many people currently take that?
Sure.
So that we would be aware of.
Just 1 second, let me make a note.
Okay.
Could you explain that? Are you talking about committee work or what?
The commissioners. Receive up to. So Is this what you're referring to, Brian, the defined benefit or the defined contribution plan?
No, at the last meeting, one question that I received was on health insurance, essentially, if any type of stipend could be considered for the commissioners. And the closest I've come to was if you come to work at the county and you opt to reject the health insurance, there is a stipend program available. I'll pull that information for you all and share it. That was one of the notes that I made. There was one last thing that I just wanted to bring to your attention. At the beginning of the meeting, I noted that I'd spent Sunday sending out emails to county administrators or clerks. We got 6 responses related to our hours required for the board members. We had 6 counties confirm that they do not have an hour requirement. Since we've been sitting here, we actually got a 7th county that has confirmed that they don't require specific hours for their elected officials. With that said, I'll put together a summary and send it out to you all so that you can see who's responded. It's just been kind of an interesting question, and we got responses pretty quickly.
And I think the question came from me as to whether or not any of the county boards are full-time. And, other than maybe perhaps, Wayne County or Oakland, I don't think they are, but, it was just, I think I noted the salary for the chair of the Kent County Board. And that's what made me, one question that, but the regular salary is 30,000, so that's more than a part-time county board member. Okay. Are we done with that action item?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I have
Yeah.
a question, if I might, on commissioner benefits. Am I reading, I'm looking at Elegant County, am I reading this correctly that the county, in fact, is paying almost $23,000 for insurance on top of the
1 second.
$24,000 that the commissioners are paid?
Yeah, that's how I read it too, if you have it.
100% of the premium.
Yeah,
And there's some other counties like Claire or St. Clair that has $24,000 of health insurance costs.
They're the same thing, but
So my response to that is, the answer is yes. However, if any of you would like to have the, have a double check done, I'm more than happy. I know the Elegant administrator, I'd be happy to reach out. I will tell you, when I sent him an email Sunday morning, I had an email back Sunday morning. So if that's something that you're curious about, I'm more than happy to do it.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that the net compensation is a lot higher than just looking at the, an awful lot higher, I mean, almost double.
and that's a board, I think they were at one point, maybe 11, I think they're down to 5 county commissioners now. I think they shrunk their board.
That would be,
At the last. Yeah, it's interesting.
it's almost $50,000 in effect they're receiving if we count the value of healthcare.
So Madam Chair, again, just give me direction. If you want this information, I'm happy to chase it down. I just want to make sure I'm getting the question correct.
Do we want to verify that, or is it pertinent to us, or are you just kind of questioning that could happen?
it would only be pertinent if you wanted to offer them this similar type health care. If we're not gonna consider it, then I would not worry about it. That's just my own personal opinion. That's just me, but feel like Ron said, it is doubling their compensation because
I
It
think
is
it's
substantial.
interesting to look at their role and how it has changed. I think historically, it was just a 10-hour-a-week type of role, and based on comments today, it's not anymore. And so if we're trying to look at who we would like to have in those elected seats, if we want them to be people that are willing to put in that time, that full-time hour, I think it might be important for us to offer benefits to them as well.
Are we allowed to do that? I thought we couldn't do that.
I believe we're the only commission that could do it.
Okay, so we are, that is part of our,
We can do benefits, I believe.
okay,
And
that it is.
I
Okay,
believe we have.
Now, we have to keep in mind, and all the county board now is 4-year terms.
Yeah.
So if the thought was to attract more people to those roles, that would occur in 3 more years because these folks are already in there.
Right.
Although we could possibly give benefits to this group. If that was the case.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
It is very clear that we're going to need to schedule another meeting. I'm going to suggest a meeting date as we get further into the discussion. One thing I would stress is if you all make a list of questions that you would like answered as it relates to the restoration of say, the health benefit, that's something that I am more than willing to work to get you a response to, and you could have that ready for your next meeting. I think that the answer is yes, if you want to pursue a review of wages, if you want to pursue any type of fringe benefits, we're happy to chase down answers and get them to you. We just need a clarification on exactly what's being requested.
I think it would be helpful in us making a decision to have that information.
So I think the question that's being asked is if the Officers Compensation Commission wish to recommend a restoration of health benefits, is that an allowable activity?
The secondary question for me is if you would be able to calculate, I guess, using family costs, what the total compensation, including benefits, is for each of the comparables on Ottawa.
what does the county currently pay right now, their plan, what is that?
Yeah. So the question, there's 2 questions there. So number 1 is, can the OCC recommend the restoration of health benefits? Secondary to that is, what is the value of that health?
Yeah, like what did premium right
Yeah.
now, you offer your employees, et cetera, so we could.
And for that purpose, would we consider them full-time or part-time employees? Because that benefit package might change.
Well, I think we're hearing what 15 hours a week is that's what Josh said. So I'd say part-time employees.
Part-time, and
With
with
the
the county,
exception of the chair
The
right,
chair
and the vice chair.
vice chair probably
Well,
full time.
they might be close to full-time.
Yeah.
does the county offer benefits for part-time people at the 15 to 20 hours a week?
I believe that there's a prorated benefit available. However, this is month 3 and I don't dare state that on the record.
Okay.
Madam Chair, just so I'm clear, I'm going to ask the 2 questions, but then I'm going to tie bar the stipend question to that. So I will check on, can you restore? I will double check the value. And then the last that I will get you an answer on is, if you were to offer this, could you then tie bar the stipend that is paid for anyone opting out of the health insurance? Does that work for the group?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, what I'm thinking is take the total value of benefits, add it to the current compensation, give us a list of the comparables and see where we line up with the true cost to the government for these people.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And some of these, it'll be different, but it's a good thing. So for instance, Berry County has that defined benefit system.
Correct. So, yeah. So Berrien's one of the rare birds that still runs a pension program, and that is not through MERS. That is a privately managed fund hovering at, I want to say 78%, having been there 3 months ago. So it is a healthy program. it is something that is used for employee retention. I think that the commissioners would argue that it also is an incentive for them to run for office and then continue running for the office. It should be noted, their wage is significantly lower, and they do not have an officer compensation commission, so this is one that's managed internally.
Yeah, I would, I guess I'd ask you to look at DC benefits and not DB plan benefits,
Mhm.
because there's no, I'm just saying this, I don't think I could support any kind of DB plan.
I think that ship is sailing out
Yeah.
of the county. We're going back to that.
Yeah,
Okay. So Madam Chair, I've got 4 questions that I will work to get responses to all of you on.
okay. Under miscellaneous, if you might, can I go there?
Yeah, so just looking at my calendar, but more importantly, looking at Regina's calendar. Potentially getting you all back together as early as next week, the 12th, as early as 2 p.m.
I will not be here. I'm not available.
Are you available at all during that week?
I would be out of town.
Okay. As we look at the schedule, we've got you all scheduled to meet again on 18th at 3. If there is interest in scheduling another meeting, I think that would be wise. And the only concern for me is I'm bumping up against a conference that I'm set to attend on the 20th. We could certainly look at the week of the 25th, but that is Memorial Day. And I'm just getting a little nervous going that far out.
Is your conference Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
It is.
If we're going to have these materials emailed to us, I imagine,
Yes.
what if we postpone that decision until our next Monday meeting, see whether or not it's necessary?
Yeah, I'll work in the next 2 days to put together the information that's been requested today.
But I agree, but I also think we, just as a backup, need another date, just in case. So maybe the week of the 26th, is there something in there?
So
Anybody have,
I'm available that week.
should we look at the 27th?
the 27th?
Wednesday, the 27th?
I'm available.
Is there a preference on morning, noon, afternoon?
I'm available whatever time, that the whole day.
Yeah, I kind of like morning, but that's just me.
We're flexible, so.
I'm open.
Okay.
I kind of prefer noon-ish.
Flexible.
Would the group like to say 12 o'clock on Wednesday, the 27th?
I'm sure.
Does it have to be a motion, or can we just do that?
No, we can just do that. Other questions I had from my notes. And maybe goes into the next meeting. Because the county board will not adopt that wage study for the general population of the employees until after we meet. Are we going to, this is a question, are we going to assume that they will adopt it for our purposes?
So Madam Chair, what I'd like to do is I would like to send you the current wages for the chief deputies, plus the wages proposed under the Baker Tilly.
Good.
The best advice I can offer is that the county board invested a significant amount of money and time into the wage study. It appears that it is likely to be acted upon by the board, however, I cannot say with any degree of confidence when.
Okay.
But I can supply you with the information that's relevant so that you all will know if it's adopted, this is the wage that will be for each of the chief deputies that fall under the countywide electeds.
That's about all we can ask for right now. Okay. Then also under, my notes is, can we come to agreement, or did we already come to an agreement on the drop dead date? And
June 4th, I think.
okay. Angela, would you make that a motion?
I motion that it's a drop dead date of June 4th, 26.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Thank you. All those, any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign, the motion carries. So thank you very much. That just alleviates a lot of, you know, if it's June 6th, we've got it done beforehand, June 4th. So the other question, I think we just have to ponder for a little bit, as I wrote down, two questions really. The notion of parity between the elected officials, or at least the clerk register, treasurer, and water resources commissioner, and this longevity issue. We're just gonna have to talk about that at the next meeting. Those two items are gonna be, and if you can do a little bit of research, maybe Ron can help, but I
suspect the program was just sunsetted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We're not likely to go back to it again. Piecemeal, I wouldn't.
So it is a little odd how this shook out. I will put together an email thread to you all to do my best to summarize it, but put simply, it appears that it was sunsetted. It appears that in the personnel manual, it was only intended for appointed staff, not for electeds. However, it also appears that for many years, electeds were included in the program. So I can't give you all of the ins and outs, but I can certainly give you a summary and you can make your judgment on how you want to handle it.
Yeah.
But I can absolutely show you the way that the program worked and the maximum amounts that were paid.
It is a little peculiar with in a elected position. So if Ron is running for reelection, making X, and his opponent would be making less than X, it's a strange incentive. In my
Yeah.
opinion.
And is it within our scope to even talk about that? Because we're setting the salaries and not the longevity pay.
We're setting compensation. If it's compensation, I think it's within a group.
So,
I just think it would be very clumsy to order that for this group of people and the rest of the employees don't get it. I think it's.
I'm sorry, the rest of the employees don't
get longevity, I don't think. Is that correct?
I thought it was just the electeds that didn't anymore.
I thought it was the whole county
It-
workforce.
In reading through the email thread, it appears that in 2024, the board resumed the longevity program. And that's where the confusion came in, that it had been paid to all. And then beginning 2024, a more strict reading of the policy began, which then excluded the electeds. That's my general understanding of it. I'll put together a memo to each of you. I'll work with admin staff as well as human resources staff to make sure that I'm interpreting it correctly. And I can say with a smile, this is one that is completely foreign to me, so.
okay. Well, I think we've covered everything that I've made notes on. So. Yeah, any other business before
I
us?
just have a question. I thought I'd maybe pose it to Lynn, since you've been through this process before. How do you pull together, you know, the final recommendation? Do you task like the leadership to do that? Or are we all supposed to draft our own version, or how does that work?
I think once we've had enough discussion, anyone can make a motion for any of these positions. We were, in the last go around, we were pretty universal with how we did things, and that may or may not be the way to handle it now.
I just went down the list and we just said so-and-so this, and then went down the list and said, yay or nay, and then.
It made suggestions, we made
Yeah.
suggestions on increases and.
We discussion on it, and then we came to a census, and we just voted on it.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
To ensure that this is done as cleanly as possible, once this group reaches recommendations on the various positions, at some point we'll be asking for a motion to be considered that would empower the chair to work directly with staff to prepare a resolution for the board's consideration that would articulate exactly what this group's consensus is. So at some point, that's the thing that I'll be looking for you all, is to authorize the chair to work with us to prepare that resolution.
Yeah, this time we're doing it a lot better, more formal, so that it's like Brian said, it's gonna be more clear, more concise, and more straightforward.
That's good. Okay, that's, I was wondering the same thing, of how did it?
Yeah, because last time we did it,
How do we get to a resolution?
yeah, we might even have the meeting that we did.
Yeah. There's so much data that we're, all of this, and between the counties and all the information that was presented to us today, there's just a lot to take in.
It's certainly that this much data could lead to paralysis by analysis, and
Yes, that's why I have.
maybe we're looking at, I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe we're looking at too much.
Could be, and we might narrow it down, and I think it sometimes when you have enough information, you just think, okay, some of that is peripheral.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, this is what really counts, and we'll base it on that.
Well, in the past, we would take the base salary and recommend a percentage, kind of a cost of living thing.
Yeah.
And so we haven't really talked about what those numbers ought to be either.
Yeah.
I would like to know what inflation has done with cost of living over the last
So,
year.
Yeah.
so to the group, can I suggest that you all, for your next meeting, take a look at what, at the federal level, what the suggested COLA amounts will be. But then at the local level, what we anticipate for the upcoming fiscal year, what union versus non-union are set to be compensated at. Is that something that would be helpful?
I don't know if we need to look at the non-union, unless has impact on. Yeah, it would be helpful to know that.
So just so I'm clear, so we'd be looking at the federal level, and then if I can give you comps on what will be occurring within the county's budget, would that be helpful?
Yeah,
Okay.
would be.
And that's all, cost of living calculated on prior year. Yeah, because cost of living right now would be extraordinary.
Well, there was an 8%, I think, for 1 year, wasn't there?
Yeah,
Last time.
yeah.
I was at the
For several positions, there's 8% in the first year and 6% in the second, which collectively, because you're doing the 6% on top of the 8, it worked out to about 14.5% over 2 years. However, prior to 2025, there had been some time, and I don't remember how much time, since the countywide positions were looked at all. So
Okay, so there was a catch-up element too.
there was that, yeah.
So Madam Chair, I think I've got all of the notes needed to get you ready for your next meeting. To the other group, I will say two things. Number one, thank you for your willingness to serve. We recognize that you're all volunteering your time and it's appreciated. A second point is, as you look at your packet, just know that the lady sitting next to me has done all of the heavy lifts. So anything that's going right, thank her. Anything going wrong, you can holler at me.
I like that.
Okay, I would if no other discussion, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
It's backpack, it's heavier and heavier.
I know.
We end up with a workers'
Oh,
comp.
no.
Remember, no workers' comp plan for volunteers.
And I, fasting again.
But all my notes on a few pages instead of all over.
I know.
Wow, to see it.
We have,
Right, God, you want to stuff down and do my.
Yeah.
it's not just a question.
Is that announced,
Shot.
or else if I announce.
Yeah, I think they're